This shows a picture of Nedima Okafor, the author of Biafra. She is a Nigerian-American journalist who has a PhD in literature. She has written a lot of fantasy, science fiction, and comics for children and adults. She believes in African futurism and bases many of her novels on its views.
This image represents when we learn that Ario has been traveling the world and says, "I have been away a long time seeing the world, now it's time for me to go home." She feels selfish for leaving and wants to go home and wants to go back to her family and to Nigeria to use the knowledge she's gained to help the injured soldiers during war.
This shows the Biafran flag located in Nigeria where the story takes place. We learn about the war going on there over boundaries superimposed by Great Britain. Nigeria declared war on the Republic of Biafra and on the Igbo tribe, which is the tribe that Aroyo is a part of. This is part of the reason Aroyo wants to come home and save her tribe.
This image shows the Biafran soldiers who were at war. It also represents that the men, women, and children of the Igbo tribe were now Biafran soldiers of this war. In the story, Aroyo sees soldiers fighting and they even start shooting at her. We learn about the true horror this war has caused. This starts the story and Aroyo starts taking care of the people.
This shows an image of the Time magazine titled Biafra's Agony. This shows how people all over the world knew about the horrors occurring in Biafra. It represents one of the pulling factors drawing Aroyo back to Nigeria to help with the war. It is what ends up saving many lives as Aroyo makes her way back to her tribe, saving many people on the way.
This image is a picture of the planes they used to bomb the villages and the forest, which Aroyo refers to as metal birds. This represents how clueless Aroyo and the Biafran were to this type of warfare. It really symbolizes how helpless the people in Biafra were and how bad they really needed Aroyo's help.
This represents the weapons that were used during this war. As Aroyo navigated the battlefield looking for more wounded to help, she noticed planes flying in the sky and saw things start to fall to the ground. She wasn't sure what was happening, but as one hit the ground yards from her, she quickly realized what was going on as she was slung against a tree and woke up to more ruin.
This represents a character in the story who Aroyo can't save. He gets bombed and Aroyo watches the life drain out of him as she realizes he can't be helped. This shows how horrible the war was and how even though Aroyo tried so hard, she wasn't able to save everyone. It symbolizes the hopelessness the deaths caused and how Aroyo still continued on. This shows an image of a Biafran war ground blown to pieces. It represents the ruins Biafra was left in after Nigeria started dropping bombs. Aroyo flies over the countless battlefields where she sees no life. This symbolizes the mass death and emptiness left by the war that keeps Aroyo going and keeps her saving as many lives as she can on her way home.
This image represents the vultures that circled around, picking at all the losses left after the bombs. This symbolizes how nothing was left in the villages after the bombs were dropped and how everything was gone. Aroyo was surrounded by death and could only hear the flapping of the vultures' wings because everything and everyone had been destroyed.
While she was in the forest, Aroyo started to tend to the injured. She helped many kids who were malnourished and bloated, and also helped anyone she could find laying on the battlefield in need of medical assistance. Overall, this symbolizes how much compassion she really has because she put her life at risk just to help some strangers that she passed by on her way home to her family. This image represents one of the main children that Aroyo helped on her way home, Onwuma. There were children starving during the Biafran War. These children had bloated bellies because they were given uncooked rice, which irritated their stomachs, and it was all they had to eat. This specific child was special to Aroyo and encouraged her to keep going as she was laying there dying.
This image represents the fire engulfing everything around Aroyo and her trying to pull people out of the fire in an attempt to save them. It symbolizes the risk Aroyo put herself through and that she was willing to help people no matter what the cost. It proves the theme of the story, which is that people should help others at times, even when it puts them at risk.
This image shows a forest where Aroyo was saving the sick and where the village once was before it got bombed and destroyed. She dragged them out of the rubble and carried them to safety. This symbolizes the care people felt for each other after the destruction. It shows how even when things get indescribably hard, communities come together to help each other.
During this time, the people in Biafra only had uncooked rice to eat, which caused them to become very sick and malnourished. They ate that for a long time in order to survive, and then in the end, they were killed by the bombs anyway. This symbolizes that even though people can try so hard to survive and keep their family safe, sometimes it doesn't help them survive in the end.
This image represents the little girl who is dying, and when she said she could see the spirits. They were described as large, pretty green lizards with long, rough tails. The spirits she was seeing were her family who had died in the war and how she was ready to join her family in the afterlife. This shows how families stay together, even when war tore them apart.
In the story, Arayo keeps mentioning that she wants to go home. In the past, she had been traveling the world and she felt like she needed to stop being selfish and go back to her family to spend time with them instead. This is how she gets on the path to Biafra and the reason why she came upon the war in the first place. This image symbolizes home.
This image represents Ario's feelings about the violence that's happening. She feels the violence is spiraling like a tornado. Everything was getting so mixed up, and she couldn't remember just how many people she had helped, which shows the mass amount of people that needed saving. This symbolizes the despair Ario felt because she couldn't help everyone.
Many Christians said that Arroyo was an angel because she must have been sent from the heavens to rescue them. Others of other ethnicities and religions called her things such as Yamaha and Mamiwata. Some even claim that she was some sort of superhero. This symbolizes the faith felt throughout Biafra and the symbol of hope Arroyo brought to them.
This is an image of Biafrans helping each other during the war. This represents the other people in the story helping out each other and develops a theme present in the story. It shows that even in times of horrific war, kindness prevails. This is very important throughout the story and ultimately saves many lives.